The city was always buzzing by sunrise. But inside the towering glass headquarters of Lancaster Corporations, life was colder, stricter, and ruled with flawless precision by the CEO, Evelyn Lancaster. She was known across the business world as the woman who never bent, never cracked, never revealed a single emotional flaw. If her face ever softened, it was only for a fraction of a second, and no one dared comment. But outside the shining world of polished shoes and corporate power, there was Daniel Carter, a single dad working as a janitor in the same building. Daniel wasn't always a janitor. Once he had dreams bigger than most. He was an architectural student with a scholarship, a man with bright eyes and better plans, until life turned him into a soldier of reality. His wife, Amelia, passed away during childbirth, leaving him to raise their daughter Lily alone. The scholarship faded behind unpaid medical expenses, and the only stable job he could get quickly was in maintenance. But Daniel never considered himself lesser. Each morning he tied his daughter's hair into a tiny braid, packed her lunch into her little pink backpack, and dropped her at the childcare across the street with a promise. "I'll make everything better one day." That promise was both his fuel and his ache. The corporate employees rarely noticed him, except when they needed a spill cleaned or a trash can emptied. But Daniel had a calm presence, quiet, respectful, thoughtful, and while the world judged status, Evelyn noticed character, though she would never admit it. Their interactions were always simple. She walked past. He nodded. She said thank you. He replied politely, like two planets circling in entirely different universes. But everything changed the day an emergency board meeting erupted in chaos. Evelyn had built her empire on discipline and reputation, and right now a scandal was threatening to destroy both. A rival company had leaked a manipulated image claiming Evelyn was involved in an inappropriate secret relationship with a married business partner. Headlines were exploding online. Reporters were camped at the front of the building like vultures circling a wounded animal. The board demanded she prove the rumors false, and fast. They insisted she appear publicly with a partner of her own choice, someone respectable, someone believable, someone whose presence would silence scandal. But Evelyn, for all her poise, had no one, no fiancé, no boyfriend, no emotional ties. Work had consumed her life so thoroughly there was barely room to breathe. She stepped out into a quiet hallway, heels hitting marble like a ticking clock of pressure. The weight of the entire corporation seemed to press against her chest. That's when she saw him. Daniel was kneeling beside a broken planter, picking up spilled soil by hand rather than sweep it, so the decorative leaves remained intact. He handled even dirt with care. Evelyn watched him for a moment, not in superiority but in curiosity. There was something stable about him, something real. They met eyes briefly, and for the first time, Evelyn spoke without her usual polished tone. You have a daughter, don't you?" Daniel nodded, unsure why the CEO was engaging him. "Yes, Lily. She's 7. Evelyn's eyes flickered, not soft, but thoughtful. She stepped closer. "I need a favor," she said, voice low, serious, "and I will pay anything. But I need your agreement, your silence, and your trust." Daniel didn't nod right away. He wasn't a man who jumped into things. "What kind of favor?" he asked carefully. Evelyn took a slow, steady breath. "I need you to act like we are in a relationship. A serious one. The press is destroying my name over a lie. I need to prove I have someone real, someone honest." Daniel blinked in disbelief. He looked around as if this was some elaborate prank. "Me? I'm just a janitor," he said. Evelyn didn't flinch. "No. You are a father who shows love in everything you do. I've watched you. You care when no one's looking. That's more real than anything money can buy." Before Daniel could decide whether to respond, a group of reporters suddenly burst past the security barrier near the lobby, swarming the hallway. Cameras flashed like lightning. Voices shouted accusations. Evelyn froze, cornered, vulnerable in a way she had never been. And Daniel, without thinking, stepped in front of her like a shield, blocking lenses and pushing paparazzi back with his presence alone. There was a sharp silence, like the world paused to breathe. One reporter, smelling drama, yelled, "If you're innocent, where's your partner? Are they hiding too?" Evelyn knew this was the moment. If she didn't act now, it was over. She turned to Daniel, eyes sharp with urgency and imploring trust. And in a voice both steady and trembling underneath, she whispered, "Pretend you kiss me for 7 minutes. 7 minutes. Long enough for photographs. Long enough to rewrite a narrative. Long enough to make the world believe something true or false." Daniel stood still, a man of honesty, a father who had taught his daughter that integrity mattered more than survival. But right now, protecting this woman, this person who was always alone, felt strangely like the right thing to do. The hallway blurred. The noise faded. The world narrowed to just two people making a decision that would change everything. And then, to everyone's shock, not only did Daniel lean in, he didn't kiss her with desperation or fear. He kissed her with gentle certainty, like he understood she had never been held sincerely before. Reporters gasped. Cameras exploded in flashes. Workers stopped mid-step. Even Evelyn's breath hitched, not from the kiss itself, but from the way he treated her like a human, not a CEO or a scandal. And in that exact moment, everything began to change. The photos spread through social media like wildfire, but not in the way anyone expected. People didn't see scandal. They saw a moment that felt real, a kiss that seemed honest, a connection that looked untouched by wealth, status, or ulterior motives. It wasn't polished, perfect, or posed. It was human. The media headlines shifted almost overnight. Mysterious janitor. Boyfriend stuns public with genuine kiss. CEOs. Partner is single dad. Love story. Beyond status. Suddenly, Evelyn wasn't being torn apart. She was being admired for choosing someone ordinary. And Daniel, well, Daniel became something different in the eyes of the world. Not a janitor, not a background figure, but a man with dignity, a protector, a father fighting quietly but fiercely for a better life. The company attempted to clarify the situation, but by then public opinion had taken its own shape. And stories, once in motion, are hard to stop. Evelyn and Daniel were forced to continue the charade longer than expected, attending meetings together, being photographed leaving the building, sometimes sharing lunch in her office just so it looked believable. But something unexpected bloomed in the spaces between pretending. They talked, not about money, not about business, but about Lily, about loss, about the loneliness that power creates, about the exhaustion of pretending to be unbreakable. Daniel learned Evelyn hadn't chosen solitude. It had been forged by betrayal after betrayal in a world where trust had teeth. Evelyn learned Daniel's love for his daughter wasn't just affection, it was devotion, something sacred. Lily adored Evelyn surprisingly fast. On weekends when Daniel had overtime, Evelyn invited Lily into her office, giving her crayons, tiny snacks and puzzles. It was strange, seeing the unshakable CEO kneeling on the carpet, helping a child build a castle from paper cups. Daniel would watch them, sometimes without speaking. Two worlds he thought would never touch, somehow merging. But not everyone welcomed this. Some board members hated the idea of someone from below rising so close to the top. Whispers grew like weeds. She's ruining the company. He wants money. She's lost her mind. And one board member, Marcus Hale, the same man who had leaked the false scandal in the first place, felt rage boil beneath his expensive suit. He confronted Evelyn privately, sneering that she was destroying her perfect image. She responded calmly, "You misunderstand. I'm not protecting my reputation. I'm protecting my truth." Marcus didn't back down. He threatened Daniel's employment, threatened to spread new lies, threatened to have Lily removed from childcare under fabricated claims. When Evelyn heard that final threat, the steel in her eyes returned, but sharper now, fueled by something she had never allowed herself to feel before: care. She immediately called a press conference, not to hide, not to pretend, not to play a part, but to tell the truth on her own terms. Daniel stood beside her, Lily holding his hand. The cameras rolled. The world watched. Evelyn confessed everything, not the scandal, but the vulnerability. Beneath her entire life, she spoke of loneliness, of expectations that suffocated, of the fear of being seen as weak. Then she said something that made the room fall silent. "This man is not here because I needed to prove something. He is here because, for the first time in my life, I met someone who does not want anything from me." Gasps whispered like wind. Daniel stepped forward, not rehearsed, not planned, and spoke too. "People think status defines worth. But love, kindness, and respect, those cannot be bought. I don't need her money, and she never needed my protection. But we found something neither of us was looking for. Something real." The reporters didn't shout this time. They listened. Lily looked up at Evelyn and whispered, just loud enough for microphones to capture her innocent sincerity. "We can be a family, right?" The world froze, softened, warmed. There were no more headlines to twist, because truth held more power than rumor. The board could no longer argue. The public no longer attacked. And somewhere in the quiet after the storm, Evelyn allowed herself to stop leading for just a moment and simply feel. Weeks passed into months. Not everything was easy. Differences existed, but something stronger existed too. A bond, formed not in fantasy, but in choosing each other every day. One evening, as the city lights glittered like scattered stars, Daniel stood with Evelyn and Lily on the rooftop of the building where everything began. The wind was soft. The night was warm. And Daniel said softly, "You asked me once to pretend to kiss you for 7 minutes." Evelyn smiled, remembering. "Yes, and you did." Daniel shook his head gently. "No," he said. "I stopped pretending the moment I realized you needed someone to see you." And Evelyn, who had survived a life of battles no one ever acknowledged, felt tears gather, not of pain, but of finally being understood. The world had seen the kiss. The world had seen the moment, but only they understood its truth. It wasn't about saving reputation. It was about saving hearts that had been lonely too long, and so their story did not end in fairy tale perfection. It continued with work, love, mistakes, laughter, struggles, hope, and home. A real story, a human one. A love that wasn't created by power, but by presence.